case that will pop.
Okay, so it's 2:03, so we'll start. And present are Graham Ball, Roland Aglin, Jonathan Ciesla, Drew Herzig, Keith Thielen, and Harriet Applegate.
And Greg,
Linda,
and Greg.
And Greg, fabulous. All right, and we have Lee Crumright with us as well. Okay. So while folks are settling in, we have one set of minutes to approve, minutes from April 27th. Can I have a motion to approve the
A
minutes?
motion to approve with one amendment, and it's just removing me from members present.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you also have me as absent, which is fine,
Two places at once.
it's a skill.
I want you to teach me how to do that. Okay. All right,
Second?
do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
You weren't there yet. You want to abstain twice?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, once for presence, once for.
6 yes, 1 abstain, all righty.
You're so good at abstaining.
So concerning the agenda, I wanna suggest an adjustment in order so that we could cover first a couple of items in new business, because I wanna be sure we get to them. And that would be whether we want to invite the new council member to provide a survey and meet with us, and then talk about the changes on recall and removal. So is that okay with everyone?
Just moving that around to.
Yeah, we'll do that first.
And then do you wanna do the finance changes after that? Just to get like as much language changes out of the way in the charter? That's an old business,
I don't know that we have a whole lot to do with that. I think you okayed the draft, didn't you?
Yeah, I sent the.
So let's do those two and okay, so then we go to 7A, which is whether we want to have the new council member come in and talk to us. What do you all think about that?
ooh, no.
No.
Do you wanna elaborate?
Yes, I do. I mean,
With the tape?
he's brand new. He doesn't have the kind of experience that we would wanna be tapping. He's been on, in other bodies, not a city council. We are out of time. If we were gonna interview more people, I would think there'd be other people that are higher up in the list. He's a good guy, he's new, he's, you know, but I don't see that there's any, the reason we were interviewing city council people was for their experience as council members, and he doesn't have that, so.
And then mine was the timing of it is just we were out of time, and unfortunately it was filled, and it's just a matter of poor timing than anything else. I'm sure.
Anybody else have any thoughts you wanna share?
Yeah. If we can give him 10 minutes, I think we should give him 10 minutes. It doesn't hurt. We don't have to interview him, the full interview protocol, but just in terms of symmetry, I kind of feel that we should give him some time.
And I would agree, I would like to invite him to a meeting at least so he can see the process, what's been going on kind of thing. And if he wants to speak to us, I mean, in the invitation, we can say, if you have the time to look over our minutes or this or that sort of thing, just to kind of catch up.
Oh, I don't think it's fair to give him that much homework.
Yeah. But I think just inviting him to say, here we are, we've been working, you're coming in kind of thing, that you're welcome to come and attend a meeting, and if, give them 5 or 10 minutes, we can squeeze that out. If we compress our, discussions on some things, not drastically. I think it'd just be a courtesy to invite him to come to a meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel that he will be voting on the recommendations that we present, and so offering that courtesy seems like it would make sense. Maybe make him more likely to take our recommendations to heart.
And I would second in a sense what you're saying, except I would go a little bit farther. I don't believe it's really just a courtesy. I mean, he is a voter on what we're doing, so he's a strong stakeholder. We have a strong interest in making sure that we can hear. You know, I don't know who's going to communicate with him, but if I was, I would say I would point him to the website. I would point him to what's available. I don't know. We wouldn't want to share with him things that we haven't shared with other council members that really wouldn't necessarily be appropriate, probably.
Well, I don't think we need to do that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but at least he can, you know, he can be aware of the things that we've made other people aware that we're concerned about. Definitely invite him to the May 21st meeting, so he can be aware, he can be present there. You know, maybe ask him, would he want us to do something more so he's prepared like others? Nobody has seen what we're doing, so he'll be comfortable playing his role as a decider on the council when we bring our materials to them.
Well, we could certainly point out to him that there's a lot of materials available, but you know, I can reach out to him and invite him, see if he's got time to come. I think we have 2 meetings next week. Am I right about that?
Wednesday and Saturday.
Wednesday and Saturday, so I could see if he'd like to come by and spend a few minutes with us. And I can send him the survey and tell him if he doesn't have to fill it out, but if he wants to, he's welcome to.
Tell him if he's coming on Saturday, he's invited to bring coffee. Linda, I don't know if it would be premature, but you might think about sending him the slideshow you prepared for a public presentation. You wouldn't want to do that?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair to selectively share that with him.
So either.
If we do have him come in, I would recommend 10-15 minutes tops. Not getting
Yeah, that's
30
fine.
minutes or an hour.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I would I guess I would revise my absolutist tone, because I think it is good because he's a voter and to inform him, but it's categorically different from our other, from an interview. I think it's more of an invitation to, of ourselves to him. That makes a lot more sense, but the other part.
I'm still no. I was looking over the survey and stuff, and the questions and what we went in, I was just refreshing myself. I mean, new ideas are great, but also if he has some great, we can't do much with it. So I get your guys' perspective, and I'm not like hard railing, against. It's just no.
Okay. Well, it feels like we have a consensus to invite him, so I'll do that. And I'll report back.
Cool. Thank you.
We're not gonna send him the survey, right?
Well, I could send it to him and tell him other people have completed it. If he wants to, he can look at their responses, and if he wants to respond, he
I mean,
can.
I think you should send it to him at the very least, then see what his other colleagues thought about, or look like there's no harm in the survey. It just gets into a lot of past talk.
I feel like he'll
I think
probably,
he's kind of on top of what's been going on in the city.
Oh, okay.
I just wouldn't want him to like engage so deeply with the survey and then we kind of can't really take much of it into account, but I don't know.
It's up to him. I think he'll appreciate where we are in the process. Okay, so Craig, you're up.
Usually Bob says it's 11:59.
That's really.
Recall and removal.
And we are,
So what do we have here in the way of copies? We have both the recall and the removal stuff? Do we have the email? I don't see the email. Did you print the email?
Today, maybe email, I'm not sure.
no, the
Did you print the one that talked about the issues?
We can print it up, so, can't we?
Yeah, that one.
Can you pull it up on the screen or no? No.
maybe. So, yes, we should.
So starting with recall, much of this is what was also changed in the 2019 draft. What I wanted to do with the recall, what I thought about doing with Linda and Lee was, whereas this was just for city council members previously, changing it just to be a general recall provision. So this would include all elected officers, or any elected officer of the city provided for in the charter. So that would be the mayor and city council members, and I believe the judge as well, as would be determined. So this makes it general so it applies to all city council members. This is what some of the other city council charters have done as well. They make it a general provision. I think ours historically was different because we didn't have a mayor, so it was always just city council members that could be recalled. And then when we added the mayor was not included under 8.3. So this just deletes the city council language, makes it general, so it applies to any elected officer of the city. Obviously, Drew's changes were made regarding the percentages needed for the petition.
So can I ask a question then, do we have an answer to scope of elected officer? Like, is that judge included or?
Well, what I suggested is that we define it and say that it includes the mayor, city council, and the judge, and the definition is now in the draft of 7.7, which you also have in your packet. Just so we don't have any confusion about that. But Lee, I don't know if you have a definitive answer from a legal perspective on whether the judge is considered an elected official of the city or not.
I would think so. I mean, as an officer of the city, elected officer being someone who's appointed or elected.
Only because I did a Google search and asked the question, and it kicked up an Attorney General case that said in the circumstances of that particular opinion, they were considering the judge to be an employee of the state. But I think it was because that particular judge didn't just serve a municipality. His jurisdiction covered a couple different municipalities. So that may be the difference, but I didn't read the whole case.
That makes sense.
So I thought if we defined it, we don't have to debate it. And maybe we're wrong, but if we're wrong, somebody probably will tell us we're wrong.
So essentially what this section would do is tweaks the language, make it general. It would replace 411, or section 4, article 4, section 11, which is recall the mayor. So that would no longer be in existence. We would delete that, combine everything in this section. And then as indicated, that change the numbers for the initiative, the petitions as required, and the last part of C, Linda tweaks some of the language as well regarding the vote being registered. Just clarify some of the language on the voters.
What was, that was all
He
that?
said the people, votes of the people, and we don't generally use that. I don't want anybody to think you don't have to be a registered voter to vote on this.
That was
I don't think people are rushing to the polls, but hey.
And then in section E as well, there was a clarification that the bolder language that Linda added as well, that indicates no person recalled is eligible for the appointment for the vacancy, which makes sense, I think. I would agree with that.
Yeah, that was in one of the other charters.
That's just, it's funny you got to say that, but you have to say that. No, I get it.
Well, in case anyone wondered.
Yeah, because if you did it and didn't say it, then that's a fun little conversation.
Yeah.
Much of the language was carried over from the 2019 charter review as well.
So the other point that hit me when I was looking at this, and I was struggling with the different rules if there was 1 or 2 people removed versus 4 or more. The charter currently has different rules if there's 4 or more. And it basically calls for an expedited election. And I was really having a hard time getting my head wrapped around all the complications of how to reconcile this with what we've decided to do in other contexts when there's somebody appointed to fill a vacancy, and we decided that we didn't wanna have a fast election. But then I thought to myself, well, what do the other charters say about this? And lo and behold, none of the other charters address any scenario where you have 4 people removed.
Or even three.
council.
I don't recall seeing anything.
No, they don't address it at all, because like, when does that happen?
Right.
And then I thought, well, why do we even need this?
It happens.
Oh,
If 4 of them are arrested for bribery,
But
There's
you
a-
could, they would, you could be removed for something like that.
yeah, but I mean, so there's 4 vacancies.
and then there's 4 vacancies, and you gotta deal with it, but
For appointments or, I mean,
Well,
whatever.
but I mean, meanwhile, you have no city government essentially, because they can't make
Well,
any,
you
But isn't a majority of them 5 or is it 4?
well,
4.
say there's 5 members.
7, okay.
I mean,
you have 3 left. But I think the chances of it happening are so low that I don't know that we need to tie ourselves up in knots about dealing with it. But that's just me, I don't know what other people
well,
think.
it is extremely low propensity, but I mean, it's in other parts of this charter, we have provided for things that probably aren't ever gonna happen, but you provide for it anyway. I'm not pushing it, but I do think that, I can't see Cleveland Heights doing this, but you have across the country, you hear about scandals where, a whole mess of people, in the Cincinnati City Council, it didn't happen all at once, but successively, and this is a council that had been, wonderfully clean and Dudley do right before this, but there was a succession of people who were convicted of crimes on city council members who were convicted of crimes. So that one after another, 3 or 4 of them fell off in the space of a year. So I'm saying it could happen, and if we are committed to, making provision for other things that probably aren't gonna happen. I don't know, I'm not really pushing it, I don't feel that strong, but I do think that that's what charters are for,
Where
the unusual circumstance that doesn't come up.
where is how we fill again? What section is that?
3.3.
Oh wait, no, I'm talking about 4.6, absence of vacancies?
That would be the mayor.
That's just for the mayor? Okay, so 3.3 is council? Got it, thank you.
Well, I think I explained it in this email.
Oh, I just wanna look at it.
I was doing a compare and contrast.
Cause the way you wrote this, right, is that we keep the 4 and do the special election. Is the way that what we have in front of us is written, correct?
Well, the current charter has a special rule. The 2019 commission didn't take it away, they just changed the wording a smidge. So instead of saying more than 3, they said 4 or more. And I was trying to work through the timing for how you would have this special election and how it differed from the way we decided to fill vacancies in our earlier discussions. So city council appoints to fill a vacancy, and then we change the timeline for when there would be an election. And under this provision, you would have an election between, I think it's 60 and 120 days. But that conflicts with the notion that you have to file your petition 60 days before an election. It's physically not possible.
There couldn't be a simple solution, like in the event that some number 4 or more city council members are removed at the same time, provision shall be made to expedite filling the vacancies. Could we say something like that in the charter?
I think if we're gonna have a special rule, we should specify how it works.
So if there's only 3 council people, does the quorum readjust to be 2 people? Or is a quorum just of currently occupied seats? Or is it of the 7 seats always? Like, is it a simple majority or is it 7? 4. Because in that case, then they still hold a majority, you could still get people appointed, like they can still do business.
Our charter says 4 members shall constitute a quorum,
Dumb.
or no matter.
If only we could change the charter. Interesting.
You just change that to a majority.
We could change that to a majority, cause you see what I'm, like, cause in that way you can still do business, cause in the interim, you have 3 people that everything grinds to a halt, so election or not, nothing can happen.
It's true.
Where's that, Lee?
3.6,
Okay.
last sentence.
Take that up.
Oh, you know this inside out, huh?
No, I just control bind.
My thoughts were along with yours, Linda, with the, I don't see the point of a special election. And the reason I wanted to look at 3.3 vacancies is the mayor's appointing them. And so it's like, and these are temporary people, or if it's close to election, we've already accounted for the fact that they'll wait till the election, like, we have that, you know, ability, and it seems like we could continue to operate. And then to me, if the charter says, okay, follow that process, and the city at the time says, you know what, we will have an election or we'll do something grander, then that allows the city to do something more. But this is a bare minimum.
I just thought that because, you know, no other charters, you know, dealt with this unlikely scenario, it seemed to me that we probably didn't need to.
I mean, essentially you're repealing.
You look at the East Cleveland Charter.
Well, and I tend to agree with Linda though, that we've put so much in this charter already. If there's anything that we can just, it's not necessary at this point, I would just keep it out. I just don't think it's,
It's currently in the charter, however,
well,
right?
3, well, yes,
Yes, it is.
we can move.
But we changed something, and this now conflicts with what we changed. So that's how I first started looking at this to say, okay, do we want this expedited election process? Or do we want it to conform to what we have in the other section? And if you want an expedited process, it still has to work in terms of when people have to file their petitions. You can't make the election come so fast that people haven't even filed their petitions to run. And actually, as I look at this, did we figure out that under the Board of Election rules, people have to file their petitions 60 days before an election? I think that's what we determined, isn't it?
Thought I remember because we reduced from 90 to 60, right?
Yeah.
I remember reducing it to better align, I thought, to give people more time. So I think 60, you're right, was the threshold. If not, then we just did it for the fun of it, but I don't think that we did.
I'll just express my opinion. As you all know by now, probably I give a fair amount of weight to what our other cities, you know, like us are doing. Not to say I wouldn't listen, not to say that I'm not open to a really good argument, but I would favor removing it from our charter because it does not have a presence anywhere else that we've found. That's one thing. The other thing is, do we have a need, or should we really actually consider a quorum, redefining quorum? Because it does sound like it's reasonable. So it's just something I don't want to forget, because sometimes we say things and we forget about it.
Where does the quorum appear?
3.6.
3.7.
Yeah.
Oh, 3.7.
Second here, I can pull it up.
It says 4 members, at the end of 3.7, it says meetings, 4 members shall constitute a quorum.
Yeah, I don't think that's, that doesn't seem like typical language to me. I would think the language would call for a quorum being a majority. And if there's special instances where, you know, there's a particular minimum number needed, it would say it.
Now it's
Oh, it's
6
now it's
rather than
3.6.
7, okay,
Now it's
so
3.6, according to ours.
Oh, sorry.
No apology.
Section numbers have changed.
I mean, I make a motion that we change 3.6 meetings to be a quorum is defined as a majority of the members.
The majority of those present.
Those,
No, the members.
I'm saying of the members.
Of like filled seats.
Cause if 3 people show up, then it changes to 2, but you have 7, like, it's just of the count, the legal council weight, I mean.
Filled council seats, you could say, or
There you go,
The occupied.
Just do a majority of members, that's.
majority of members. That's my motion.
But that's,
But that really cover it? I mean, if some people are being recalled, they're still members until they're actually recalled.
Yeah, but we're talking about if they're gone,
I'm talking, yeah, there's vacancies.
hardly anybody left.
Okay.
That's all I'm talking about, just getting that out of the way.
Yeah, then I think it should be more specific about seated members or whatever formulation they have. That it's understood that it's not like 7, but it's those who are still holding office. What would be the fastest way of saying that?
Well, members would officially be people who haven't been removed.
I go with whatever legals.
It's a legal issue.
But I'm also thinking about the average person who reads this, because one of our goals was to try and make this a little bit more intelligible to average person reading city charter for God knows what reason, but still, it's
well, the South Euclid Charter and the Lakewood Charter say that a quorum is a majority of council members.
and how do we define council members? It kind of goes.
I would definitely
Well,
support.
until they're removed, they're still a member of council.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's,
Well,
We're back to where we
that's legit.
started.
I mean, if they've been charged but have not been removed,
there's
they're still legitimate
Yeah.
members.
Yeah, and then the quorum stays that higher level, I mean,
Yeah,
it is.
that's how it should be.
Yeah, the Shaker also uses a majority of members of council constitute a quorum.
I mean,
Okay, then it seems like the simplest way to deal with this is to change that sentence to whatever Jonathan suggested, a majority of members of the quorum.
Yeah, let's do that.
and no one seconded it, so it's still
Oh,
not,
yeah, I
Second.
didn't know you made that motion.
yeah, like,
Second,
but that's not it.
that's a good catch, usually.
So you made that motion, Jonathan?
I did.
And we have a second?
Yeah,
Second.
second.
Who seconded it?
I did it.
So majority of members shall constitute a quorum.
And what section is that in?
That is at the end of 3.6.
3 now 6 rather than 7.
Called, it's titled meetings.
Any further discussion about that? You wanna call the question on that?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now back to the vacancy thing.
So now I am good at taking that extra language out.
Which extra?
The idea of having a special election, blah, blah, I mean, just, if there's a vacancy, fill it how the charter says to fill it and move on with life. Cause now they can continue to do business, cause the majority doesn't have to be 4 people. And I believe that's where some, what's the nice way of saying common sense? That you wouldn't like do a whole bunch of things with only 3 people, like you would.
Good faith.
There you go.
You're gonna act in good faith.
Well, and they're, they have, one of the other questions that I raised was that the language now says a vacancy caused by recall is filled in accordance with Article 3, provided that if the removal is for 4 or more, then you have a special election. So the question I asked myself was, does that mean council still makes interim appointments or not?
See, to me, if it says you're gonna follow 3.3 vacancies, and vacancies says that council does fill them unless they, says any vacancy in council shall be filled by the appointment by a majority of the remaining members of the council. Oh, we already took care of that there. Of an individual qualified under this charter to serve as members, like, I would just have to follow the vacancy procedure. Straight up. And not write new ones. So it'd be a much shorter.
All right, but if, it doesn't matter if we're taking away the special rule. But that was just a question that came to me, and I think the way this is worded on this page we got markup, it says a vacancy caused by the removal. I think it has to be recall, because we're talking about recall here.
Agreed.
Yeah, but after they're recalled, recall is one thing, or does recall mean removal?
No, removal is different than recall. This is recall. We're in the recall section,
Where are we?
not the removal
Eight
section.
point three, second page.
So
Subsection E.
removal should be changed to recall?
Yes.
Very top.
It seems to me that what Jonathan said, that first sentence, according to provisions Article 3, which stipulates the majority of the remaining members, so, you know, if a meteor hits Cleveland Heights, we still can function with, you know, all the councilors something like that.
All right, so let me do this, just to try to crystallize the discussion here. Let me make a motion, concept. So let me make a motion that we accept the changes to E, what's in the draft, except we have, in the first line, we change removal to recall. And we delete the provided clause.
Jonathan, when you can, if you could get that up on screen.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna do. So this would turn to
Where does it,
Removal.
clause start?
recall.
Line 3. Line 3.
So it will simply read, a vacancy caused by the recall of one or more members of council shall be filled
This is the
according to the provisions of Article 3.
Okay, that
E.
section B,
E.
no,
Yeah.
I'm in
So-
E.
okay, so A we go removal to recall, E is where the crux of this is.
So
So
we
can you
do
say that
how
again?
much?
The first line, we're taking off, in the first line, we take out removal and put in recall.
Okay.
Shall be filled according to the provisions of Article 3,
Period.
period.
Of this charter?
And then get rid of everything else.
Nope, nope.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Okay, no, that's what I'm, yeah,
Just
So how
down
much are we
to the
getting
period.
Just the rest of that sentence.
this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now we'll read. A vacancy caused by the recall of a member of council shall be filled according to the provisions of Article 3 of the charter. The candidates for the vacancy shall be nominated by petition, similar in form to petitions presenting names of candidates for regular municipal elections, blah, blah, blah. Why is this special?
We took out the special
No, but still, we're doing petitions, when they
because
fill,
candidates are gonna run to fill those vacancies.
but why not just have council appoint them? That's what I'm saying.
Well, we are gonna have them appointed, but I'm wondering if we need to say anything here about petitions, cause isn't it already in 3?
Well, in 3.3 vacancies, it says any vacancy in the council shall be filled by the appointment
I'm not sure we need the rest of this sentence of this paragraph at all.
in the event council fails. A successor shall be elected.
But I wonder if it needs to say, if it should say 3.4, section 3.4 instead of Article 3. Cause 3.4 is what deals with filling vacancies.
Zaki, I'm sorry.
So we lost the sentence, which I like, is no person recalled is eligible for appointment to fill the vacancy caused by
Well,
recall.
yeah, that's gotta be put in.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, cause it's not in here yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're looking at, no, this isn't, these aren't the same.
Well, this,
Okay, I
that's brand new,
Sorry.
No, you're fine, thanks for pointing that out.
Okay.
no person recall.
See, what I'm saying is get rid of the petitions, because this is adding a whole new thing about petitions that
I
doesn't.
think you're right, but I think instead of saying the provisions of Article 3, we
Oh,
should
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
section 3.4.
Yeah, so you're saying, and I'm just gonna.
Be more specific.
You're right, Jonathan, because that whole petitions was part of the previous arrangement where you had people running and being recalled at the same time, which we did away with. So I
So
would,
now it literally would just be this, and then I'm gonna add that sentence. And I can back out of this, the whole beautiful thing about digital.
So after that one added sentence, we're reading the rest of the paragraph?
I think so.
Because it's already covered in 3.4. You have to leave the sentence about the mayor at the end.
That wasn't part of this.
It's part of E.
I'll fix it. Didn't make it in.
In this one.
Alright,
It's
well,
not there.
Well, that's because it's new in the draft.
recall, and then I'll add, well, it wasn't bolded. I'll clean it up later.
Is it removal of the mayor or the recall of the mayor?
It should be
I'm just gonna type stuff, that's great, alright. Vacancy. And we want it just to be Article 4, right? Nothing more specific?
section 3.4.
No, this is the mayor.
Do I write that?
But the mayor is
Oh, I'm sorry, just Article 4? Or do we wanna say
probably
that?
should say
Yeah, section.
4 point whatever it is,
Can I just say that?
4.9,
Like this? Can it literally say provision of 4.9 or is there some legal?
section 4.9.
And you want removal
Of the charter, or don't have to?
Jonathan, removal at the beginning of that line
Oh, thank
should be
you.
recall.
Yep, thank you. I knew there was something I missed.
That's all right.
Well, and I think I got the sentence before, it's this, it should match, okay, good.
You wanted to say filled according to the provision.
Could I suggest that that sentence about no person recalled is eligible should go at the end of this paragraph, because it applies to the mayor as well.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And third line filled according to the provision.
Yeah, fill the go to the provision.
According to the provision, you've got the word to after according.
Oh, got it. I was not following it. Give me a minute. That should be past tense. The mayor should be capitalized.
Somewhere up in an earlier section, there was a preposition is we'll wait.
So now E is reading what is on the screen. Would you like me to read it, or if you guys wanna get up?
Thank you, I can see it from here, but
I mean, I can make it a little bigger too, it's tiny.
I'll move that we adopt that change to that section, if that'll move things forward.
okay, so Drew's made a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have further discussion?
I just wanted, because I'm looking at a red line at the chart, and I wanna make sure that we have the mayoral section correct. Is it 4.9? Is that gonna be the new 4.9?
Well,
I'll fix
it may not, but we'll figure it out, because we're deleting a bunch of stuff from there, so it could change, it's probably gonna be 4.6,
Whatever, okay.
but, because several things are coming out.
Absence and vacancy is 4.6.
We can just leave it, or highlight it so we cross.
Oh, wow, I just did that twice. You want comments or highlights, Lee?
Highlight, just put it in yellow.
Alright, they're hard.
Okay.
I'm highlighting both of them,
Thank you.
living on the edge.
Alright, so can we go back,
I'm sorry, to go.
Yeah, we do.
do we have any other discussion on that?
This is just on paragraph E, right?
Paragraph E.
Motion's just on paragraph.
Alright, so we have a motion to accept this. We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? We ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? So can we go back to the email and see if there's anything else we needed to talk about?
Yes.
I just think,
Well-
just to point out F,
I was about to say.
F needs to
I
have
missed.
switch removal and recall.
Well, so the removal is throughout this, I'm noticing, there's a bunch of places.
Okay.
So I feel like we should
Does it
just,
always-
every place that says removal, we should.
Well, this is all about recall, that's the whole
Section
thing.
3 is just recalling.
Cause see, there's one up here. And then there's another one, so every place that says removal should say recall, and I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think the motion is just understood.
I agree.
And then what were you saying, Drew?
You go up a little higher,
Yeah,
maybe recalled from office.
Yes, good catch.
Thank you. I think when you took out removal or removed, we did.
Oh, yeah.
No, for recall, yeah.
So could you go back up to 8, because it's not reading the same as the draft.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Could you go back up to A? So the draft says the people reserve unto themselves the right by recall petition to remove from office any elected officer of the city.
Let's look at the markup. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Yeah, that was fully taken out. I mean, at least in this red line, I have no idea why. But we can blame Lee.
You can't.
That happens when you
Don't
log
do
in.
it so easy.
I think we wanna say the people reserve to themselves, because that's what it says at the beginning of 8.1 and 8.2.
Section A is taken from state statute. That's how it's drafted in the state statute recall.
Do you have a problem with saying the people reserve to themselves?
Nope.
Okay. So we want the first sentence to be the people reserve unto themselves.
Yeah.
The right to recall and remove from office any member of the.
Right, comma, by recall petition to remove from office any elected officer of the city.
There we go.
And you
Elected.
should read
Do we wanna say official or officer, cause that's
Officer,
officer, please.
Help me out with that,
Elected officer.
thank you.
Because that's defined later or earlier.
it's okay.
Just change it.
City, and then do we want, do we need to say this, the state stuff, or no, it's implied? Any elected officer may be recalled, no, it's the same
No,
thing,
we don't
right?
need that.
Okay. And then this goes away, and then is the procedure in there? Nope, we, on the red line we have in front of us, that was all gone, this is literally all it would say, right? One sentence.
Looks like it.
And we still have that other language that we fixed
But I was gonna
somewhere.
just take a look at, glance at B really quick to make sure it's matching up with. There we go. Oh, son of a.
Okay, in the second last line of B, there's the word removal again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been catching them. Council, elected official. Officer.
Then in C, I see it again.
Signed by registered voters of the city still. Yep, equal in number to at least 25%. This is 25%?
It should be 15.
Should be 15. Trying to, okay, and then, so it's then 180 days. Those are the number updates correctly.
At the end of C, do we have the question of recall instead of the question of removal?
The term of a lot of council members, so we need to.
Elected officers.
Yeah, good idea. This gets the audience on its feet, wow.
Then no petition may relate to the recall of more than one council member. Well, that's gotta go, right? Last sentence of B seems like it's gotta, no petition may
No.
relate to the recall of more than one. Oh,
Oh,
each
that's right.
petition, got it, thank you.
But you need to change that to elected officer.
That's what I was thinking,
Yes.
that a recall of more than one elected officer, right?
Yeah.
If you wanna recall the mayor. And then in C, when a petition.
Wait, sorry, Jonathan.
Yeah,
Can you go back up after 15%?
Yep.
I like the wording in what Craig gave us, more than what's there, that doesn't, to me, it's what Craig gave us is of the total
number of persons who voted in the most recent regular municipal election.
Who that, who's it?
Of the total number of persons who voted in the most recent regular municipal election.
Thank you, I just find it.
I appreciate it. So now it reads,
Regular. 4 or 5 are in the diet. That makes sense to everybody?
So the other thing I would say is the wording that we're using total number of persons who voted or total number of registered voters? Because in C, we refer to the required number of registered voters. Have we picked a style on that, Lee?
I can do a quick search. What was the,
I'm not seeing it in C. Where is it in C? Oh, there it is. Required number of registered. I think the issue was the legal definition of elector is somebody registered to vote an X amount of time before the coming election, is that correct?
Well, but we got some feedback
Yeah.
on that.
I had a chance to discuss that with the Board of Elections.
Yeah.
Talked to a couple different people and essentially electors, and if you register for an election and it's less than 30 days before that election, you're kind of in a holding pattern. So you're not registered legally or technically, and so only electors can vote in an election. So essentially, they're one and the same as what the Board of Elections said.
So we can use registered voters.
Yes, I think that's much clearer,
Right.
even if you have to go to the Board of Elections to find out what that means.
So there's just one list of registered voters, that's what the Board of Elections has, that's it.
Interesting.
I'm good if for consistency that every place it talks about voters, that it say registered voters. And then that's just.
Instead of electors.
Yeah,
But didn't you make a big, there was a big long thing of electors, it sounded,
Yeah.
it was different from just plain old registered voter.
Yeah, it's has a meaning that's more expansive than registered voters. So that was my recommendation.
I mean, I see it,
Yeah, I think
we
should use
missed,
electors.
there's a couple places we've missed it, where we still have elector in it. We can circle back to that another time, so I don't conflate the issue too much.
Would it be a bridge too far to move that we change elector to registered voters throughout?
I
Do you
mean,
remember where that comment was in the
I'm
draft?
trying to remember.
Do you remember where the comment was in the draft?
I mean, it should still be.
Was it in the legal table you gave us?
Well, it was
No.
in one of our handouts.
It was in an email, I believe, I don't know if it was ever.
I think it was in an email. When you read the list, I thought Lee's argument was very persuasive.
The thing is though, when Craig talked to the board,
They don't care?
they said that they don't really count somebody as registered until the time period has passed.
So we don't have separate lists of electors versus registered voters. You're not registered until you registered.
Until 30 days pass.
Right, correct. So if you registered on November 1st and the election's November 3rd, you're not a registered voter. Even though you turned it in, because you can't vote. You're in a holding pattern is how they explained it to me. Until 30 days after that.
Still, I don't think that affects our use of the term registered voter in the charter, because it's gonna be the same as elector with that 30-day holding period if
Correct.
that kind of thing, so. Well, just to move on, I move that we change the term elector to registered voter throughout the charter.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? Lee, do you wanna comment?
Can you comment?
Sure, he can
Just
give
to
us
refresh,
advice.
I really cannot remember.
It's just, my earlier comment was that elector has a better definition than just registered voter. It reads,
If you could read that.
Cause it is important if the Board of Elections has something wrong that conflicts with, they didn't seem to think they did, but.
You're only as good as your
I
staff.
seem to recall, Linda, I asked you that question, and you're quite convincing that there was a difference.
Yeah, well, that's what Lee told me.
Yeah,
I
Well,
believed him.
there is a difference,
well, yeah,
what we're
you have
saying,
the, you have
that's what I'm trying to
what you
find.
wrote us, I think it was in an email.
I don't think it was in an email, I'm looking for it, but.
I remember seeing it in
Interesting.
an email,
Yeah, it was
because there was a
in-
chunk of text saying.
Yeah, it was a whole
Electric
paragraph of
means this, yeah.
stuff that.
Well, let me suggest this, why don't we talk about that at our next meeting?
I think that's a great
If
idea.
that's okay with everybody, we'll defer it and we'll get the email in front of us and we'll
I
decide
think
once
that's
and for all.
And then at the same time, we can go back to just dealing with the recall section.
Yeah, we can finish this.
We made it through
today.
A, B, and C, I just aligned to what's in front of us. So it ends with vote of registered voters.
Yeah, which is fine for now.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second, do I need to withdraw it, or do we
Yeah.
table it, or what do we do?
We can table
Well,
the motion.
Well, the motion on the changing electors to registered voters, we're gonna table for next time.
Yeah, I think we
Well,
should table it.
Linda, you have
The
to-
table's probably smart.
Since there's a motion on the floor, you have to move to table it.
I move to table.
Second,
And then there's no discussion on tables. No, seriously, it's fun.
All right.
But you have to call the votes, right? You still have to call. the votes.
Question.
That's true.
All in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving right along.
Yeah.
And so it looks like we took care of E, and then in F is all pretty clear, so
Recall.
Yeah.
thank you, removal.
And then the first.
So have we voted on A, B, C, D, and F?
I'm sorry, there's still
No.
one. Just one thing in B.
Please.
Linda had meant, sorry, I don't know if you're ready.
I have no idea, 1 second. B,
In B, Linda had mentioned,
should I
should
say
we
that,
have,
what was it, D, B,
B as in boy.
thank you.
Should
Okay.
we have total number of persons who voted, or should we have total number of registered voters? Is that what you were
I
saying?
would suggest for right now, put in registered voters, and then if we do a global change to elected, we'll do a global change to elected. I mean, that's pretty easy for Lee to do with a search and replace.
So of the total number of registered voters who voted, we still wanna keep going with that? Okay, just making sure.
Interesting.
And then you were pointing out, Drew,
Yeah, are we changing removal to recall everywhere?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. There was another one here.
In the first part of that.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there.
Well, whatever.
You're like 3 seconds away from Vanna White, I feel like. And then we're very clear intent with it. I'm just
Yeah.
making.
All right, let me make a motion that we accept A, B, C, D, and F as presented in the draft with the understanding that all references to removal will be changed to recall. And that for this draft, we're gonna refer to registered voters and not people or electors.
Well, that's already in the edits.
I know, I'm just noting it. Okay, yeah, we have to refer to elected officer, not council members or not just officer, we have to say elected officers.
but then there's a deletion of that sentence at the end of E.
But she's
We're not doing E, we've already done it.
Oh,
I'll second that.
Any questions, any further debate? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Cool.
can we do removal?
Not yet.
Anything more on the recall pages? Okay, fabulous.
So removal's gonna be much the same in that, in that there's a removal section in 3.3 for city council members. There's a removal section 4.9 for the mayor. I would suggest that we combine those again into one removal section to all city officers. And this is where, all elected officers, I apologize. And then this is where Linda put in, so this would be put in alternative 7.7.
Oh, so you're saying this whole top part would go away
Correct.
and instead you would have 7.7?
That would be my suggestion.
Got it. And we're good with the way this language is, there's no changes since this is the newest.
So 7.7 removal is essential language that Shaker has in their charter. Much of this was borrowed from Shaker's. No other charter that I saw had separate removal provisions for city council and mayor like ours currently does.
So what's the relationship of this to our current charter?
So currently removal for the mayors in section 4.9.
No, I mean, you said that you took the language from Shaker as opposed to
'Cause they
taking
do
the
it all
language
in
from
one.
ours.
They do it all in one.
Yeah,
Oh, but it's the same language, it's just combining the mayor with the council.
essentially correct. And this also gives, because we had some concerns with the previous removal sections about essentially due process, where the council member or the mayor is presented with an opportunity to be heard and there's some kind of process that they have to go through. So the alternative section 7.7 includes that process to any elected officer who is removed. Linda added some language there you see bolded, which defines who the elected officers are. And then,
We're back, I'm back on the second paragraph, it's the fourth line from the bottom. Affirmative vote of at least 5 of its members. Well, what if they have only 5 members? I get the idea that it
Right.
was a supermajority, that's
Right.
what I think the term
Correct.
is.
correct.
I kinda wanna put super in a charter just because it sounds fun, but I get the intent there, I just don't know what to do
Right.
with it.
Well, removal of an elected officer is a pretty extraordinary measure.
Mhm.
So I think it's appropriate that there has to be a supermajority vote to do that. And I think I think in the case of removal, I would be in favor of saying at least 5.
Jonathan,
But you know, what if
they're
there is
missing-
5 and they're trying to remove someone?
What if there are vacancies on the council, Jonathan?
Well, they could wait till they fill their vacancies and then they can do the removal.
That's a very good point, you're right.
Cause it will just be a month or two.
Yeah, cause we've sped it up, so we don't have to do a whole election and
Yeah.
yeah. That's a very good point, I
Or you
think.
could change that to an affirmative vote of a majority plus 1 of its members.
I'm comfortable leaving it based on what we just walked through. I mean, I'm good with how it's written now because I wasn't thinking, once you fill the vacancies, you're right, and then it's a faster process now, so. Everything I said, ignore.
Jonathan, could you kindly go to section 10.3D?
Yeah, and so that's the next change, is that Linda, we also referred back to 10.3, which is the new public ethics section that we're gonna include.
Oh. This is how it reads, oh. It needs to be, there you go. It's a longer one, I can't put it all on the screen, but yeah, it's the ethics.
What are we looking for?
Oh, no, just that it's a reference.
There's a cross-reference.
You wanted to make sure you see it with.
So the one point to raise here is that we had discussed and we had agreed that 10.3C, if you could scroll down a smidge, Jonathan, or D, I think it's D, lists a number of offenses which would justify removal. So in this context, it's disqualifying people from holding a particular job, but we also agreed that we would use that same list of bad acts for our elected officials. And we left open the question, when we last discussed this, we left open the question, should elected officials have to worry about not only this list, but also any felony? committed while in office.
It's a, can you highlight, Jonathan, or
I can highlight it.
if we're looking at these things?
But are we
The
gonna be
bribery is
discussing
so
this now, or we're not discussing this now, right?
Yes, we are.
Ten,
Our
3.3.
oh shit,
We already discussed D, we agreed that we liked D. The only question before us now is in the context of removal. Do we want the bases upon which somebody can be removed to be limited to the things specified in 10.3D? Or do we want it to be 10.3D plus any other felony?
makes me ask, what is a felony?
Yeah, so that would be.
Murder?
Disqualified.
Well, I know, but is it-
Well,
it-
sodomy's a felony.
Assault?
Well, but that's the point,
I
Linda.
understand.
Yeah, so basically we'll be adding any disqualifying offense or any felony, something along those lines to that last sentence.
See, and I need to see a list of felonies.
Well, there's a lot.
I know,
Yeah, but
I mean, like, I know assault,
Drug possession, drug trafficking, certain thefts.
see, and I mean, until Ohio law was changed and federal law still has it on marijuana, you have a felony of possession of that.
Yeah.
So you disqualify them for something that may,
let's just keep,
I mean, I'm just not a fan of the blanket with felonies because there's a bunch of them that are dumb
I agree.
or that wouldn't affect office. That's just my two
It's
cents.
a felony violation of law for those listed issues.
And it says or corrupt practices relating to local, state, or federal elections. So I mean, we have some stuff,
Right.
but that's my.
And these offenses don't have to be felonies, right? I mean, you could be convicted of a misdemeanor bribery charge and this would apply to you, which I think is correct. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, it says felony violation, my mistake.
Violation, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we wanna keep it at felony, because
Felony
misdemeanors are easy to slip into. And I would be opposed to adding any felonies, because I think there's a felony trespass, and I think a lot of people might be looking at felony trespass charges currently, and I would want to prohibit them from holding office, so.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I also think it still stands that if you transmit HIV, you can be convicted of a felony. You can't, they got rid of that, but then I,
You don't know, or are you saying no, or you don't know?
No, he just said, he
I
said
just
God.
think it's, that it ever should have been that kind of thing.
but I need to know if it applies.
I have no idea.
Okay. I believe it still is considered a felony, it's a form of
There are
assault.
things I don't wanna give headspace to if you.
Well, and I think that the list that's in D, I think when we talked about this last time, we had some feelings expressed that because the way this describes, perjury related to official duty, corrupt practices, soliciting or accepting improper compensation, it was focusing on the kinds of felonies that are particularly relevant
Yeah.
for somebody's fitness for public office.
So let's just keep that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
nothing would change. And
I believe
what about
there,
7.7?
there's another section that we were considering this, the issue of the felony though, as well, for eligibility for office.
Is that us, or is that board elections?
Yeah, I found that somewhere and then I lost it, but
Can
I
we-
think it was a similar list.
Can we finish 7.7 and go back to that? I mean, I don't wanna drop it, but just get 7.7 out of the way.
Just recall these.
Well, at this point, we wanna make sure that we don't want changes in this section, correct?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, we were,
I know, but it's like, as long as we're here and we debated, do we wanna add anything? We've decided we will not add anything to this section currently.
that is my understanding.
Okay.
So I mean, I would motion that 7.7 be added to the charter as written. And then the sections on removal for council and mayor separately would be removed.
Could we go back?
I mean, I can cite the ones, but 4.9 or.
Could we go back and see 7.7, please?
No,
Okay.
it's not in here.
Okay.
Right?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's
It's only
proposed.
written. Yeah.
So it's just,
Is there a second to that motion?
Can I just ask, the portion, we have 4.9 here, which is the mayor.
That's just being deleted.
Right, and what is the specific, Jonathan just said the other section, so.
No, I have to look it up, yeah.
3.3 is removal of city council members.
Okay, good, so section 3, I just wanna make it.
Yeah, 3.3 and 4.9.
3.3, 4.9 would be
Would be deleted.
removed and then replace it with the alternative 7.7.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Now, I just wanna make a comment that, again, in this language in 7.7, when it's referring to officer, it should always say elected officer. And secondly, if you go down to the fourth line, we should be taking out, well, after the words while in office, comma, we should put the word or.
Say what?
Oh, I agree.
Or for so you're saying if they were convicted of an illegal act while in office or in violation of the charter?
Or for violation of this charter.
Oh, I see.
Why is that important to you? Just your rationale?
We need the word or,
No, yeah, why or? Just a
because otherwise the sentence doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
We need a conjunction, right?
Oh,
We
okay.
wouldn't want it to be and.
Done now.
That's my answer, that would be my reading.
I don't remember what a conjunction is.
And Linda, that is a really good catch, cause
Let's talk about parts of speech, so. My predominant memory of fourth grade was parsing sentences. And we diagrammed the bejesus out of every sentence we encountered for 3 years.
that was
3 years of diagramming sentences. My kids had 6 weeks.
I had summer school, cause I didn't.
Anyway, are we set? So those are that was my
I mean,
suggestion for
we're in the
amendments, friendly
discussion.
amendments.
Yeah, we're in the discussion phase. Friendly amendment taken, whoever seconded, you're good, Guy, with that?
Yeah, or, yes. Yes,
All right.
you are.
Yes, can I call for the question? I'm calling for the question,
Any
goddamn.
further discussion? We're done? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain?
Did you have a question?
No, just abstain.
Okay.
Having done that, to be changed removal for recall.
No, this is literally removal.
Correct.
The other one was only about recall, this is any other removal, that's my understanding.
Okay, so Craig, have we gotten through all your drafting?
That is it.
Okey-dokey. Fabulous. Now we're going back. Back to
The
page
budget,
1.
yeah, are we gonna go to Guy's on finance? Are we knocking language out, or are we back on track with the agenda?
I think we're, what would you like to do, Guy? Would you
Go to
like?
the agenda, please, let's.
Okay,
I mean,
we're going
it's
to the
okay.
agenda.
I mean, I think we should talk about Guy's before we talk about range choice, that's just my 2 cents.
Did you have any further edits to your finance stuff?
I
Were you
don't.
okay with it?
No, I don't.
You're done? Okay.
I was
Do you
under
have to
the
motion it? I don't remember. Do we need it solidified? Cause we didn't have it up and then that's why it got
Yeah,
pushed.
so on the finance stuff,
And then you brought copies, Guy, right?
Guy wanted to just go back and double check and make sure that all the edits were in there that were in there, so why don't you pull that up?
How?
Can't you go to Article 9?
Is it in yours?
It's actually in there, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
You brought it over?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
got it.
That's what I wasn't
Yeah.
clear about.
So, did anybody have any questions or concerns about Article 9? Cause it's just a question of accepting what we already discussed.
And then this should be edited, it should have all of your stuff in it. I don't know if you've got a place you wanna double check.
No, I am gonna trust that,
Okay.
I'm gonna trust that Lee said he put what we exchanged into it, and I'm gonna trust that that's the case. Okay, I mean, I know, that's what I said, I trust you.
I don't.
I'm gonna move that we accept Article 9.
I second it.
Any discussion?
I'm going to abstain because I'm concerned, what we heard from counselors was the city is just finding its way toward the right budget process for it. And I think if we set it in stone, at this point, we might be blocking progress. So I get all of this, I think it's all worthwhile, but I'm really afraid if we put it into the charter at this point, the council will stop evolving a budget process that usually works for everybody.
Well, my understanding, and Guy, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that what we've outlined in the charter is just sort of a normal sequence of steps. It's not anything really revolutionary, it's just kind of good practice.
Yes, and also I would also, Drew, council had not in the past done anything about the budget process.
Right.
This reflects what, I forget his name, anyway, it was the director of finance brought in these ideas and everything else, and everybody just loves it, just thinks it works well. And it is, as Mindy was saying, this is just a description of a normal budgeting process applied in a municipal environment with the dates and all the rest of it. So I can understand your abstention, I will just offer that I confirm what Linda's saying.
So are we calling for question or?
Is there any further question, discussion? Ready to call the question? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You're abstaining, Drew?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that might be all of the outstanding language that was on the agenda.
Yay.
Is there any more we don't know about?
Charter language.
Super is still not in the chart.
What's not in the chart?
Super,
Oh, you wanna find a way to put the word super in there?
F-L-E-G.
I'm getting punchy. Okay, we're going back to old business. And Roland, have you heard from Judith Miles?
I have, we just corresponded by email and we're set to talk Monday at some point.
Okay. So we'll hear from you on Wednesday.
Yes.
So who's Judith Miles again?
She's the chair of the Civil Service Commission. Okay, so we're moving on to rent choice voting.
Can I, just to clarify, we're good on charter language, right? Or is that also changed?
For which?
Yeah.
Linda has some concerns for us.
Okay, and so we're talking about charter language. Okay. Just wanna make sure.
So we have in front of us the ranked choice voting language for the charter, and we have an ordinance.
Is that this packet with, thank you. This is all just ranked choice voting.
So Drew and Harriet, take it away.
Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I think, the email I sent around, Terry and I have been back and forth with the Fair Vote people, sharing some concerns about the language. Ankit addressed a couple things that Terry had brought up about the two candidates or fewer, and then how to calculate how to do that math thing about this, that, and the other sort of stuff. So and I suggested, I don't know if you've got it, but adding that one little bracket after that calculation to make it a little bit clearer.
What calculation?
The number of votes needed to win a seat shall be determined by dividing the number of votes cast by the sum of the number of seats to be filled plus one additional vote, that calculation.
Where is it?
Article
It's in-
7, I believe,
Yeah.
It's
That's not in there
in
yet.
section,
Oh, it's not in here yet, okay.
not in there yet, okay, fine.
Okay, but in our packet is
Yes, it is in there.
section 8.
Let's see. We're at Article 7,
section 1.
Section 1.
Well, I have a comment on section 1.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
okay.
let's do the other thing first, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Boy, and I had it here earlier,
it's on the third page of the,
thank you. Is it?
The number of votes divided by number of seats plus 1. This bracket of language is what you just said, and you emailed to the very top.
Which page?
3, wait, that is it.
Yes, there we go, yeah. So that, in that little different font, the black thing is the part I suggested just putting in bracket, just to give another, way of figuring that out.
okay,
And the Ankit said, you don't wanna say plus one seat because you're not adding a seat to the council, you're just adding a number. So it's very hair splitting, but I thought that number of votes divided by bracket, number of seats plus one, close bracket, plus one more single vote is another way of making it clear to people. And then the other is.
I think it should say one more vote rather than one more single vote.
That's fine.
Okay by me. So change that in the bracket to plus one more vote.
One more vote.
And the rest, nobody's found any problems with?
I have several comments.
Well,
Yeah,
and-
I know, but it's in this section.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, and it doesn't match the red line. Like, this section 1 does not match.
Well, it hasn't been put into the
Right.
Yeah,
draft
okay,
yet.
okay. Thank you.
And I think to be fair, the ranked choice voting, this is one of the places where the separate bucket is really important because there will be some things that change if we have ranked choice voting, but if we don't have ranked choice voting, they won't change.
Okay.
So for example, the language about partisan, the primaries and the mayor's race
Right.
that
Yeah.
is deleted in this, wouldn't be deleted if this doesn't pass.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Clarify. Do you wanna we're walking through it now?
Well, in this language that's on the screen, the second paragraph needs to be repeated, Drew, in your draft. It's not there now.
Oh, okay, so just
The second paragraph of what?
the thing on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
It just says when there's a vacancy on council, then the election for the expected term shall be held as provided in section 3.4. It just kicks them to the applicable place.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Can somebody do that since I don't have the technical ability to?
Is it a Word file?
What did,
How did you send
Your
this?
7.3.
put it in Dropbox, I believe.
As a Word file?
As a Word file or a PDF?
ODT, whatever that is.
Word brings up.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but Word brought it up when I.
Oops. And where is it?
Dropbox number 2 ranked choice voting thing. I think it's just in the working files.
Is it in the, okay. 1 second. Here's the charter review.
Not in the full, I just put it in the general mix of things.
Okay. There's working
I think
files?
if you go to all files, you might find it there.
No, this is all of Lee's files. He's got
Yeah.
a crap ton of
Okay,
folders.
well, I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to do Dropbox, I put it in Dropbox.
Hit CH Charter Review Commission, the gray right above it saying working files on the main window.
Ryan, I mean, it's great.
To the right, that one.
Here we go. These are the most recent.
Number 2, there's number 2 ranked choice voting, pardon that, number 2, down, there.
Oh, so it's number 5, but it says number 2. Got it. Yeah, it looks like it's a Word file.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you wanna make the changes there, we took out in the section 8, we took out the word single.
Jonathan, I think there's at the very, very top of the file, you have to click a button to allow enable you to.
I did.
What you did, so. Yeah, sorry, apologies.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me touch it otherwise. Okay,
Well, those are the changes we've made up to this point, thanks for your help on it.
and then Linda, we just sprinkle this throughout.
You just put that in as a second paragraph in that section 1.
Oh, 1 second, sorry. That'll help. Okay.
Now, I see that in some of these sections, you're talking about an effective date of 2025, which is, like 6 months from now.
Those are just placeholders.
Well, I know, but I don't think it's a good idea to leave 2025 in there because those provisions cannot be effective 2025. There's just no way, even if this was on the ballot in November.
You don't need to convince me, let's change them.
What if it's 202X, or does that confuse people? No, I've seen it in other drafts.
Yeah.
I think it should be 202.
Or is just 4 X's, I mean, I'm good with it if we go back in time.
When the council considers it, would it be their call to say when they want this to?
Yeah.
Well, that's automatic when the charter gets updated by the voters, the effective date gets put in the charter, right?
The council can specify
Oh, they can also-
an effective date. So if they don't specify, it would be like the following January,
Got
but
it.
for some of these things that need to get phased in, because the Board of Elections needs to be ready to implement it, they're gonna have to pick a date.
So I can change it to 202X?
Yeah, I think so.
That's great, yes, throughout, I think,
Yeah, I'll start doing that.
no problem there.
And the next comment I have is in section 6.
So any other comments for section 1? Section 3? Section 4? Section 5? Alright, looks like we're on section 6.
Okay, so the only thing here is that the word charter should have an initial cap.
It's regular general election, right? That's our,
Yes.
or regular municipal.
Where is that?
Where is
see where you're.
Oh, I'm sorry, so the second line, okay, here's what I'm looking at. In sections like above here, it says regular municipal election. I can't remember if that's the terminology.
What's election versus election laws? It's general election laws.
See, it helps if I would read, so let me undo that.
It's regular municipal election, yeah.
where's regular municipal election?
Section 5, line 3.
Well, yeah, it's a couple places, it's in blue. And then, so this charter capitalized,
Is that, should it be a capitalized charter?
Yeah.
okay.
That's what we've been doing in the
Oh,
charter.
have we? Okay.
And was there anything else, Linda?
In section 8,
Okay, wait, section 6 is good now?
You wanna clear that missing R and that sort of thing, whatever.
Yes.
I don't know if we use the phrase general election laws of the state every time, but Lee will clean up that kind of stuff. I don't think we need to dwell on that.
So 6 is good. Well, it is now because you can't see it, so tough.
Okay, and 8, we have to, I think we need to put a "the" in front of judge every time.
As in, here it comes.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. Done this, not sure whether we wanted to leave the judge in or not, but for consistency, we thought we should, so.
so there's someplace where there was a reference to the word counting.
It's the second paragraph of it.
There's a lot of countings.
Alright, if a candidate receives more than half of the total votes, counting, should it be, is counting the right word?
So you're talking about this right here.
Ranked choice votes.
I mean, the second line, yeah.
And counting.
Yeah, wouldn't it just be total votes for candidates?
Wait a minute,
Why is counting in there?
are you in the third line of?
I'm in the second line of section 8, paragraph 2.
Section 8, ranked choice voting. Number 2, right after the blue, the first sentence after the blue. If a candidate receives more than half the total votes, counting for candidates, that candidate is elected and the tabulation of votes is complete.
Counting doesn't seem like the right word.
Do we even need a word, it was just total votes.
I am still on,
Section 8,
okay.
second paragraph, second line.
And it's highlighted on the screen. And it's 328.
Yes, I think possibly we should change that to counted. Counted, because again, this is the tabulation, so that half the total votes counted for candidates, not just total votes for candidates, but total votes counted for candidates, since this is that instant runoff process.
Okay, but can I suggest that you check back with the people who are helping you draft this to make sure that
Yeah. I
that's the
think
right word?
Okay,
Does that make sense to be Drew? But I don't know,
That was your
maybe there was something
There may
dropped.
be, yeah, there may be,
no, I was gonna say
you know,
total votes
there's gotta be
counted,
some reason.
counted other than counted,
I'm gonna just replace the word, it's easier to read.
not the total votes counted for
No,
candidates.
don't say counted, we're gonna check,
No, I'm just writing it down, because
Okay.
we're gonna placehold
I've
it.
got a marker here, so we know what.
Okay,
I'll get super fancy.
Okay. You used the word super, by the way.
I did, word of the day. Wait, was there anything else, Linda, that you caught?
I
In
thought,
section 8,
I thought there was, yeah, in the third paragraph. I gotta find the right wording where it talks about somebody being eliminated.
when a candidate is, it's the last sentence. When a candidate is eliminated, votes shall be counted for each balance.
When a candidate is eliminated, votes that had been cast for that candidate shall be counted.
Ooh, where are you?
The very last line
He wants to
before
add-
the council shall by ordinance establish.
again, where are we?
Did she read something different?
No, she added some language.
Oh,
He said she wants to add some language.
okay.
So it would read, when a candidate is eliminated, comma, votes that had been cast for that candidate shall be counted.
Well, it says when votes shall be counted for each ballot's next highest ranked.
And I think that's a very specific ranked choice procedure. It's like
Yeah.
we're talking about ballots.
Yeah, you're talking about ballots, not the voter. You're talking about the voter's ballot.
But aren't we talking about transferring votes that had been cast for the candidate who's eliminated?
No, well, you're taking votes that ballots, it should read the way it reads because it's about the ballot, the second choice on the ballot. They count for each
But
ballot.
it's just the second choice on the ballot for that candidate who was eliminated, right?
Right. It's the-
So I think you do need some clarifying language.
Well, Harriet, are you making notes on these to ask them?
What- yeah,
And I'm
I don't think it
sure
needs
they
to
have a
change.
rationale for it that way, because everything we've challenged, they say, no, you need to say ballot here, not voter here, you need to say vote, not ballot, because it's all in the algorithm kind of thing. I can understand the wanting the clarification of language, but we'll check that out, but Harriet, I'm not taking notes, okay?
Yeah.
That looks right to me.
Which Graham?
Just that last portion of the sentence is
No,
what's
I
in
meant
question right now.
edited or Linda's edited or as written, that's what I'm trying to.
Are you saying it looks okay without my edit or with
Is your
my edit?
is your
What
edit
did
in
you
red?
edit again?
Edits are in red.
Okay.
I can make it a little bit bigger. There you go.
I guess some clarifying language could be good. We could say ballots ranking that candidate first or like something like that.
Well, how about,
Well, I think rather than wordsmithing.
Maybe it should be, maybe it should be ballots
Well,
that
let's-
had been,
Let's run this by Ankit and see what he says. Is that
Okay. Yeah, we could, we'll do that. I think it'd be better to say ballots that have been cast.
Okay, any clarifying language there?
Yes.
Alright. What next?
In section 8, what is this? There's language in item C. This is when things have to be, information has to be released. It says, but in no event later than as required by law. And I don't know what that means in a context where generally in Ohio, the Board of Elections doesn't release information in this way.
And the comment from Ankit just says this is changed from when we last talked.
Yeah, but he's not referring to that.
Oh, okay.
He's referring to the whole paragraph, I think.
No, I think he is referring to that.
Wow, I have no idea what it,
Well, because I was on the conversation with
Yeah,
him.
no, we had this conversation because it was originally like midnight of the day of the election.
He is
And they were saying they believe state law is by noon the day after the election. So they basically said just as required by state law, because nobody could find the state law that says this is where results need to be, initially reported kind of thing, so.
Yes, in other words, they want it to be the same as it is for every other election.
Then I believe it refers only to as required by law, because that's all it's highlighted in red, that goes over to the comment, that's the way I would read it.
It's
So in
the,
other words, they're saying we want the same rule as everybody else.
yeah,
They didn't want to impose an additional burden on the city by saying,
well, I mean, would it be clearer, and this is wordsmithing, but precincts have reported, but no later than as required by law. Get rid of some of the
I think that's
events.
okay, if that's what they're trying to achieve, I think that's okay. And then we have again the effective date, and then
Yep, got it.
I have something in 3.4. But this is consistency changes that I didn't go through and note every one, but we can catch those.
Oh, I mean,
And-
I can again,
section 3,
comment in section 4 vacancies, consistency changes, I can just make a note.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, cause Harriet, if you look on the next page, there's references to 4-year terms, it just has the word for, F-O-U-R, it doesn't have parentheses with the number 4. So it's stuff like that, it's not substantive. And then I think,
I'll do that.
I think this text, I'm wondering if we look at 8.4 in the charter, it's got a bunch of subparagraphs. So I think this is supposed to be G, but I'm not 100% sure.
Are you still in vacancies?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying the number of the paragraphs or letter them?
Well, that this item here about vacancies,
Yeah, first paragraph's any vacancies. Second one is a successor.
well, let me try to
Okay,
get my head around, so we're in 3. I'm looking at Article 8 now, Article 8, Section 4, General Provisions, scroll down a smidge,
oh, not Article 3.
no, Article 8.
Got it, that.
Alright, so this, I think, is intended to be G, 8.4 G. But it needs to be reviewed against the other G, cause we'd only use one of these. But the wording is different. And I don't think it was intended to be different, I think it's just different and it needs to be consistent.
Part of what was going on is they were working with the last available charter revision that they had, which wasn't always the last one that we had.
And then again, this is taking out the reference to the primary, so again, this can't go into effect until the Board of Elections is ready to do a ranked choice vote. And the same thing applies to 13. So my final point, in case you thought I was never gonna end, is in the ordinance language, and I didn't review this ordinance language in great detail, but in section 6, it says the director of Cuyahoga County Board of Election shall have the authority to promulgate whatever rules are necessary to implement this act. I don't know that the city by ordinance has the authority to tell the Board of Elections to do anything. Could be wrong about that.
What is promulgate?
We're,
What?
Create.
Thank you.
Second last page.
My understanding in this language was to remind the director of Cuyahoga County Board of Elections that they do have that authority. It's a little bit kind of, triple thinking, but they're putting it in there to say, you do have this authority to make these ballots for the ranked choice voting in Cleveland Heights, and we just wanna make sure you know that. But there, if you want to ask them if that's.
But you see my concern, that we don't really have authority over the board.
Right, yeah. And again, it's, some of this was not that the city has the authority, but they are reminding the county board of elections that they have the authority. It's just very,
well,
it's mind games basically, but that's where they're at with the county board of elections.
yeah, I think the sense here is that it's telling the Board of Elect, if the city decides it wants something, that the Board of Elections has to, because boards of elections are very resistant, it's a lot of work for them, it's more money, it's more this, more that. So it basically, maybe we don't have to have it in there, but
So we'll check that out, but again, it's because some of this language is mind games with the Board of Elections kind of thing. And just going on record that the city gives the Board of Elections, if they need permission to do this, the city is okay with it.
I mean, do we need to get this in the weeds with the ordinance?
Well, I think that before an ordinance gets accepted, I'm not necessarily suggesting that we do. Somebody will eventually.
Oh, absolutely, that's
And
what
I'm just reacting to this language because it seems to me that the city doesn't really have any control over the Board of Elections. So I understand what you're saying, Drew, but I'm not sure that this is the way to word it. But I'm beyond my jurisdiction.
maybe it just should say the Board of Elections has the authority
Well,
and must
We'll see what
promulgate
we'll see
whatever
what the
rules are
materials
necessary to
are.
implement.
So Garrett, you've made a note of this, and there were
Yeah.
2 other language sections that were of concern. So we can get back, and again, this, where are we here, Saturday? Probably, I can't promise that we'll have this back by Wednesday, but we should have it back by Saturday.
Do we need to get it back?
yeah,
Well,
Okay.
yeah, because some of it is still charter language that we haven't put, except we're like.
No, I meant the section 6, we don't
Oh, that's the
need
ordinance.
that, right? Yeah, the ordinance, though we need the charter stuff. Okay,
Yeah, but-
well, I think we need to be prepared to answer questions that may come up from city council saying, well, maybe they won't ask any questions about this, I
well, I
don't
get,
know.
so the thing is, to me, it's, well, your ordinance, yes, it's a draft ordinance, it still has to clear you, the law department, the voters, and then the law department again, so
Right.
But as long as we're.
draft it.
Not the voters.
But there's a reason they put
No,
this
the
in.
charter provision, yeah.
There's a
Sorry,
reason they put this in there, and the reason I believe
Yeah, I'm saying, but that'll get
is
debated when the ordinance is created.
that the boards of elections need to be reminded that when the cities want something, they have to make it possible.
So as long as we're asking them questions, we might as well ask all the questions we've got, so that we don't have to keep going back to them, so. Is that okay with everybody? Do we need any?
Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the draft?
Tuesday next week.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very
And
much.
then we owe a lot to Ankit and a pair of those people. So.
Well, okay, so I have a question now based on our discussion that we just had about recalls and blah, 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 blah. This successor language?
Yeah.
Is it, okay, shall be elected as council members elected for full, but we don't have an election to fill vacant seats anymore, right?
Yeah, we do,
We do? I thought we
in
just,
Article 3.
I thought we did the his appointment.
There's an appointment, but then there's an election. So it's not as fast as it is today,
Okay,
but it
that's
still
what I'm just
happens.
trying to, yeah, I do not remember, so I wanted to be crystal clear, that's all. Cool.
Now, one thing I would say, one other thing I would say for purposes of having a completed bucket is that the bucket of charter amendment changes that addresses ranked choice voting needs to include notations in terms of this thing in the charter will come out and this one will go in. So for instance, you take out the paragraph that refers to a primary for the mayor's race and you put in a new paragraph that doesn't have that reference. But that's all gotta get laid out in the bucket.
Are you saying that it's up to Harriet and me to draft the bucket now? I just want to be
Think so.
clear.
Yeah,
Really, that's news. I thought when we decided the things that I thought, sorry, Lee, but I thought Lee was gonna draft the bucket language because that's ballot language.
well, I think that we've gotta lay out for council, here's what, if you vote for ranked choice voting, this is all the stuff in the charter that's gonna change. We're putting in some new things, we're changing some things that are already there. And it's gotta all be laid out in one place, cause the complicating factor is that, we're gonna have the charter, with more general kinds of changes that will work without ranked choice voting.
Right.
But if we have ranked choice voting, some of that is never mind.
Right.
So you have to lay it out very clearly so that the voters know, well, if I vote for this, I'm not voting for that.
Yeah.
And if I don't vote for this, I'm getting this.
I'm saying that this is news to me that it's on us to write the official language for the proposed charter amendment.
Well, when you say official language, it's no different than what we're doing for all these other things.
But if this applies, that doesn't apply. If this goes in here, that comes out. This is-
Yeah, well, we have to put it all together.
Okay, well, Harriet, I'm done, I can't do this at this point. I can't put any more energy into rewriting all this language because I was not preparing for it. I was not mentally making notes of that. So,
Well, I think Harriet has the note she needs about the
In terms of our
drafting.
other buckets, is there some,
They aren't as complex as this one.
Well, I don't think it's that complex. I mean, I could help you sort it out, Harriet. It's not that hard.
And I mean, this is is something like this.
Yeah.
Where you've got, here are the sections that,
Yeah.
I mean,
This is coming out. This is going in. It's,
and then I, just heads up, Harriet, or anyone, I put in an updated, I put the date for number, so it's in the Dropbox. So if you guys need to get it.
I wanted to offer for either I'm not sure how this would work necessarily in the charter or for the report, but the kind of math that we've got with like the parentheses and the brackets and such, I wonder what folks would think about like including something that looks like this in there, where it's like just very
I think we should-
clearly.
I was thinking, I think we should put a formula in it.
Cause it's just like, we can just put a fractional formula in it that says what the words say, but just like make more sense. I don't know, does that work legally? Or
Legally, no
like-
math.
well, you could state it and then you could say,
Yeah.
here it is expressed in a mathematical formula and include
Okay.
that. I don't
In
think
the
there's anything
charter
wrong with
or-
that. Sure. Why not?
Was that in the ordinance or the charter?
Sure.
This
Neither.
written language as a sentence is in the charter.
Yeah.
But I feel like even with the parentheses and the brackets, like it makes more sense when it's written out like
I
this.
agree, and I asked them, and they weren't sure if you could put a mathematical formula into a charter. But I'd be all in favor of that if it's legal because it's
Well, wait, do
very
you think there's any reason we couldn't?
It might have to be more like text, like instead of the over, like yeah,
Number of votes cast by
I don't see any problem.
number of seats plus one.
But if you state it in words, like it is in the draft,
Mhm.
and then you say, which is expressed in this mathematical formula,
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
I don't think that would be a
Not-
problem, it's
Not replacing anything, but in addition to, correct?
Right.
Yes, I'd be very happy with that. And I didn't know how to do,
I have a program called Overleaf or Law Tech that lets you write, it's for like preparing like math papers.
Oh, how exciting.
Word also lets you insert formulas now.
Oh, nice, cool, that would probably be easier, cause this is like HTML.
and Graham, I'm wondering if on the far right one, should we add the word vote?
Yeah. Right.
And then can you send that to Jonathan and Lee?
Yes.
So, okay, well, thank you for the follow-up on this is helpful.
So what I sent out last night for the report, at what point are we, do we need to discuss the language that's going in the report? Because that was.
Well, we certainly do, but it's not gonna happen today.
No, but I mean, like, when are we gonna do that?
We have the next meeting, we gotta start dropping things into the report and talking about it.
See, and I was hoping that, I guess we could do it in sections, but you're just like, okay, here's the full written session, are there any comments? Because it's just, we're finalizing, we're basically proofreading and making minor change, instead of like arguing over wordsmithy stuff, like, if we come prepared, we can get through it quicker.
Well, we could, if we come prepared, sure.
That's
Sure.
my suggestion.
But I wasn't really clear, Harriet, on how much of what you sent for that draft you were proposing would be in the report
All
as
of it.
opposed to information that would be available for people to review, but not necessarily in the report, because it was a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm
Lot of-
assuming that the report is gonna be, yeah, it is a lot.
And I,
But we could look at it in the context of the report and see what makes sense. There may be parts of it that we would put in an appendix rather than in the main text.
and I asked the fair vote people about, Linda, you mentioned an online report, and they suggested some links to, ranked choice voting websites for people to go.
I
so
put that at the end, when I,
Yeah, and I mentioned to Harriet that we can certainly, on the web page, put things, we could have a folder that has information about ranked choice voting that includes whatever you all think would be helpful. Certainly. But, as I get inserts in, I could drop them into the report and circulate another draft so people can start looking at it. Once we get it all dropped in together, we probably have to make a pass through to try to make it all kind of speak in one voice, but
I think the reason that I put all that in what I sent last night is because since ranked choice voting is a new concept for people, we wanna provide, as much of an explanation as possible. Obviously, you don't do that in the charter, you don't do that in the ordinance, but it seems like the place to do that is in the report. So I'm guessing that in the report that we finally do, the biggest section of that report will be the ranked choice voting section, because it's such a new concept for people.
And I'm concerned the longer we make it, and he and others, what we were told at our last meeting is, don't say it's complicated. It's not for the voter, it's not complicated. The more text we put in, the more people are gonna think, oh my God, this must be really complicated. So I think less is more in this situation, but we're running out of time, and that's something that can work out.
yeah, I think we can look at it. It's and figure out what makes sense and, what we wanna put in the body of it, what might go into an appendix, what might go into folders. Cause I think that some of the things that you provided that are explanatory are best seen in color. And it's a lot easier for people to understand if they can look at those bar charts and stuff like that. There may be a way to do the bar differentiations without using colors and using some other kind of graphic that would show up well in black and white. But I think it's the kind of thing that maybe we could put in appendixes as opposed to the main report, but we'll see how it lays out.
And I think overall, we want the report to be something that people feel they can pick up and make use of, not something like a small city's phone book that they're gonna take somewhere.
Right, no, I know you wanted it to be shorter rather than longer. So we have to think about all that, because I think it's a good point. You know, I think the report from the 2019 commission was quite lengthy. The report from University Heights was much shorter.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll have to see what kind of balance we want to strike in terms of how much detail we want.
7 minutes.
All right, so I would suggest that I'll put the stuff that we have into the report and we can discuss it at our next meeting. So I can get that out to people probably Monday. And then people will have a couple days to look at it and we could start talking about it Wednesday and it'll spill over to Saturday probably. But I think we've made a lot of progress in terms of going through the charter itself. So we pretty much got our charter changes assembled and now we have to focus on the report. So I have some of the answers for the report, but I don't have all of them yet. So you have a to-do list for us?
It's not a lengthy one.
Can I interrupt before you?
Yeah, please.
So I did finish my insert and it's available to you. It's not listed here, but I thought, based on the fact there was a section in the previous report, that there would be, could become an explanation of how we came to the different
Okay.
percentages and all, and I sent that out as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I thought, I asked Gita to do that so that we could tell people in the initiative recall referendum, if we change the percentage from this to this, looking at the votes from last election, this is how many signatures would be required, old, new. And people could get their heads around how big a change it is, for better or worse. I mean, you just give them the facts and they can make a decision. So Gita very kindly provided that, and which is very helpful.
So that was for the report, right?
I intended to be on
Yeah.
the report.
Yeah, what you said this morning.
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry, but it's just isn't listed here.
Well, because I didn't have it when
I know, I don't.
And I was gonna kind of piggyback on what you prepared because you had all the discussion on Article 8 and I had 8.3, so I was just gonna kind of throw it in there.
Yeah.
Okay, that was how I was thinking. I just
It's
want
on
to
there.
clarify that.
It's on
Yeah.
Dropbox.
Yeah, then we probably wanna say a few words about what we did in 8.456. I mean, not line by line, but just kind of big picture stuff. So people have a framework. So,
So we,
Also, oops, sorry.
go ahead.
Did we ever decide on the buckets? I mean, it's been on our agenda and I don't think, maybe.
we haven't come to final decisions, but it's time.
Yeah, because if people are gonna be charged with writing the buckets, then they need to know that. Okay, just so that Wednesday for sure.
Well, we could start it. But again, if people come prepared to talk about it, that helps move it along faster.
Sorry, Graham.
Let's go to it. I only have 2 or so items. So we have a tabled motion regarding the elector change. And so we should figure out just exactly what language we need there, or the definition that we need to make that decision. And then we're gonna follow up with the ranked choice voting people regarding some of those specific questions we talked about today. That's all that I've got.
I'm gonna follow up with Councilman Posh,
Okay, right.
and we need to figure out room layout at the library. We gotta get a projector.
The library we
I think
don't
they
need.
have one.
They definitely have.
To ceiling a fixed projector.
Okay, good. And are we set with the newsletter, Lee?
But it was in Friday.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we were in it, yeah.
Okay, I didn't have a chance to look at that, I'm kind of drowning. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, super.
Second?
so motion to adjourn was by Jonathan, second by Craig. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all.
I think